Ciarán Shiels, solicitor from Finnegan. We've been here today. This is the first appearance of these defendants who have been charged with taking part in an illegal public procession that went a short distance from the Diamond down to into the Guildhall. It was Valentine's night. It was 6:30 at night. No one was obstructed. No one complained to the police in relation to their short walk to their rally. In fact, people who had passed sounded their horns in support. People clapped when Ciarán and Colum spoke in relation to the genocide that is happening in Israel. At that stage, it was only really starting to get properly into gear. They forecasted many innocent Palestinians would be slaughtered, that this was going to be a deliberate, calculated, systematic slaughter of the innocent, which was going to be enabled by US weaponry. And that's exactly what happened. We stand here today with at least 50, I've been conservative in the numbers, at least 50,000 innocent Palestinian civilians murdered in Gaza. 20,000 of them are innocent children. There's not a hospital left. There's not a hospital left. Members of the media, specifically, have been targeted. Specifically, hospitals have been targeted. They have left them with nowhere to go. Their own genocide has been live streamed to the world. And we are asked to understand how possibly it could be in the interests of justice to prosecute these brave people who have stood as an example to us in relation to us all opposing our crimes that are happening on our TV screens every night, if one will only look. Now, in relation to these proceedings, they've been supported by Mickey McKinney from the Bloody Sunday families. In relation to these proceedings, last October I was told, you'll get your decision within approximately 4 weeks' time. 4 weeks passed. I let it go to about 7 weeks and I followed it up with further correspondence. I was informed by the directing officer, we don't know when you'll get your decision in relation to these prosecutions. I find this was odd. I couldn't properly advise my client what was actually going on here. We followed this up again at Christmas time, still didn't know when we would get a decision in respect to this matter. And then again, at the end of March, and that very day we were told, there's been a decision to prosecute, the test for prosecution has been met, and it's therefore in the interest of justice that these people should be brought before the courts. We didn't receive evidence until sometime after that, but before this appearance today. And the only thing that I can detect that's new in the case is a statement from a sergeant in the PSNI who referred back to a previous incident at Derry Court when the Bloody Sunday families, accompanied by Colum, accompanied by the mayor, accompanied by myself, accompanied by leading journalists, walked that short distance up to this court, which is about equidistant to the distance travelled by the anti-genocide campaigners on the 14th of February. And that was, we always said that would be found, that couldn't possibly be found in the public interest to prosecute the Bloody Sunday families and the other people who stood with them, supporting the public prosecution of Soldier F, also for war crimes. Now, these defendants stand charged with taking part in a public procession where the interests of justice are even greater than they were in respect of Soldier F. The question is in relation to tens of thousands of innocent civilians who are being murdered. And that murder is being enabled. And they've been brought before the Hague. And they treat the Hague with contempt because they've been enabled to do so. We cannot fathom how prosecuting Mr. Eastwood, Garetti, the other defendants, could in any way be in the public interest to do so. We've asked for an urgent review of that prosecution. We need to see what actually is behind the decision to prosecute them. And I should say, floods of us legal assistance have come in from all over Ireland to assist the defence of these defendants. We're working our way through that at the moment, but there have been floods of offers of assistance in relation to this, and we're grateful for that. But where we ultimately see this case going, it will be a challenge by way of judicial review in the divisional court in Belfast in due course, because not only is it an unreasonable and an untenable position to adopt that this is in the interest of justice, it's a perverse one, it's irrational, and it cannot possibly be lawful. That's what I would like to say now. And you would economy. Right?
Well, look, folks, people who are standing here today as defendants respect the law, we respect this court, but actually we were marching and protesting and have been for years now against a bigger and more important law being broken. And we are seeing the Israeli government in the dock in the highest courts in the world because they are committing genocide in Gaza. They are right now deliberately starving children. There are trucks of aid lined up at the border of Gaza that can't get in. They have just announced that they're going to, as we've always known they were going to do, fully occupy the Gaza Strip and try to rid it of the Palestinian people. That is the crime that we and many other people in this city were protesting on that evening, and it is frankly bizarre to anybody with any basic understanding of the justice system why the PPS would be deciding that this was the thing that they should be focused on. I, frankly, given the amount of work I've done with victims over the years and other people, can't understand how this seems to be a priority for them. But others can speak for themselves, but I don't think anybody who's a defendant in this case will ever be put off standing up for the people of Gaza and standing up for the rule of law around protecting people from a genocide, one that, as Ciarán says, is being committed live on our TV screens, and global powers are doing nothing other than enable it by providing the Israeli government with weapons.
Are you sure to find yourself in court here today?
Look, I'm not angry about this. I think the people who are defendants in this case are angry about what's happening in Gaza, and that's something that will drive us to act in whatever way we think is appropriate to defend human rights and defend the rule of international law.
What's your message to the PPS, Colum?
I would just like to say, if there was ever a case in which one should be proud to be a defendant before a court facing a criminal charge, this is a case where you should be proud to be a defendant.
Your message to the PPS?
Well, it seems the PPS don't listen to me because I've been arguing with them for many years over different cases. Remember, we had to bring the PPS to court to get them to go after Soldier F in the end. Look, the PPS have some bizarre mechanism, it seems, for deciding when a previous case, just like this one, was deemed not to be in the interests of justice to prosecute. Now, this is for some reason. That's a question that they're going to have to answer, but I think the court will have its view on that, and it strikes me as a very bizarre decision-making process. I think people understand what's going on here, but most people in Derry, that 99% of the people of this city are opposed to what's happening in Gaza and will always stand up to defend the people of Palestine.
Well, what would you say to your critics who might suggest that your position is the law is fine as long as it doesn't apply to you?
Well, I mean, I'm in court today. I think it turns out it does apply to me as well. Well, if you're talking about people like Jamie Bryson, I'll not really be taking any lectures from people like that. This law, it's not for me to determine what this law, how this law is adjudicated upon, but it was set up because certain Orange Order bands were determined to march past nationalist estates and end up creating mayhem on the streets. This law was not written and was not brought into law to stop people protesting genocide. That's not what this was for. Nobody was put out on Shipby Street on that day. In fact, people were beeping their horns in support of us, because I know, and the people standing here do a lot door knocking and talking to people in this city. People are absolutely opposed to what's happening in Gaza and will stand with whoever has to stand up against that.